for coming. At this time, if you'd all please stand, Pastor John Sherman is going to give the invocation.
Thank you, Mayor. Would you pray with me? So God, our Heavenly Father, I'm just so glad to live in this community where we love one another, respect one another, care about one another, and just try to seek the welfare of our city. Like your scripture says, when we seek the welfare of our city, we find welfare in that. So when we seek to bless others, we are blessed. When we refresh others, we ourselves are refreshed. And so I thank you that we live in that kind of a community. I do pray for my leaders, that you would give them wisdom tonight in all their decisions, that you would guide them and direct them, and that they would be unified in their thinking and the best way to continue to move our city forward in a way that's prosperous and, like I said, just a loving community.
There are no public comments tonight, so we'll go to the consent agenda. First item is approve the city council meetings of October 9th, 2018. Do we have a motion?
I'd like to make some suggested revisions.
Okay.
On item number 2, public hearing, we have under item B, the following people spoke. I'd like to note that Michael Matthews, Chuck Stark spoke in place of Michael Matthews. And I'd also like to note that Clark Bozier was not in attendance at the time of this time, so he did not speak. And if possible, I would like to annotate each speaker, whether they spoke in favor or against. And what that was is we had all speakers in favor with the exception of Marcy Galley, Ray Bajeski, and Paul Center spoke against.
Any other discussion?
Can we add, if they were non-resident, can we put that beside their name? Thank you.
Any other discussion? Did we have a motion?
I move that we accept the minutes as revised.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, raise your hands. Motion passes. Thank you. This time, we're going to make an appointment to fill the unexpired term of place number 1. Mr. Eric Contreras, would you come forward, please?
We need to read the motion.
We need to
Let's make a motion.
I make a motion that we appoint Mr. Eric Contreras to place 1 city council.
Do you have a second?
Second it.
Any other discussion?
I'd just like to mention that Eric went through the process of interviewing with the council at the same time I did when we filled place 4. So the council all had the opportunity to talk to him. I've had the opportunity to speak with him several times over the last several months, and he's been in attendance at every council meeting since that time. So I believe that he's the candidate that can best fill this position.
Do we have a motion? Or a second?
Motion and a second.
All in favor, raise a hand. Motion passes. Eric, take 2. Come on up. Should've got something to stand on. I'm going to say aye, and you're going to state your name. I
Eric Contreras,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of City of Willow Park City Council,
of the City of Willow Park City Council,
Place 1,
Place 1
of the state of Texas,
of the state of Texas,
and will to the best of my ability
and will to the best of my ability
protect,
preserve,
and defend the Constitution
and defend the Constitution
and laws
and laws
of the United States
of the United States
and of this state.
and of this state.
I'm about to finish. Do you still want to do this? So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you. If you, Alicia, got something to sign real quick, and we'll be ready to go. Great. Where's my stuff? There we go. Item number 2, discuss, to consider and take action on election of Mayor Pro Tem. At this time, we're taking nominations for Mayor Pro Tem are now in order.
I make a motion to nominate Leah Young for the mayor pro tem position.
Councilmember Leah Young is nominated. Are there any other further nominations? Seeing there are no further nominations, nominations are closed. The nominations are the nominee for Mayor Pro Tem is Councilmember Leah Young. Those in favor of Councilmember Leah Young, raise your right hand, please. All in favor, thank you. Ms. Leah Young has received majority in the affirmative, and Council Leah Young, you have been selected as Mayor Pro Tem. Too late to back out.
Kevlar vest on the way out.
And the check's in the mail. Item number 3, to consider and take action on ordinance 781-18, a request by Charles Brady to abandon a 30-foot road easement on the southeast side of a 1.140 tract of land, being the east half of the south half of Block 10, El Chico Edition, located on Pitchfork Trail. Ms. Betty.
Good evening. I don't really need this, but they seem to think other people do. Charles Brady is the owner of this lot, and he is requesting that the city abandon the 30-foot of road easement that is on his property. Mr. Brady would like to construct a home on this property, and because of this roadway, he has to set back not only the 25 feet that's required by ordinance for the development, but also the 30 feet. So basically, it would shove his home to the western side of the property. There are 3 of these roadway easements. The one on the most eastern part of the properties in this block was abandoned in 2007. All of the easements are fenced. There is really no need for the rights of way, and both the Planning and Zoning Commission and staff has recommended that this easement be abandoned, and Mr. Brady in turn will replat his lot to reflect the abandonment of the easement and the new 25-foot setback. He is here if you have any questions of him, or I'd be happy to answer them. Yes, sir.
So on the east side of that, total easement is 60 foot, 30 on his property and 30 on the other.
Yes, sir.
Is the other still active?
It's still there. It is actually fenced off. In fact, all of those easements, I drove by there, I guess it was about a month ago, and all of the easements have been fenced off that are still there. There's really no need for it. If the other owner would like to, they could. I feel like the properties to the north probably at some point in time may.
So if we're vacating half, right, should we go ahead and vacate the other half?
We could contact that property owner and see if he desires to have it, and we could at that time. We would have to have his consent.
And by vacating either one, or the whole easement, it's not landlocking anything?
No, sir. It does not landlock anything.
Any other questions for Betty?
Is this that new house?
No, it's right behind it.
Oh,
It would
okay.
be, the new house is to the west.
Okay.
It's farther down, it's west.
Right. It's on the corner, actually.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the ordinance as read.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Motion passes. Thank you. Item number 4, to consider and take action on the final plat of the replat blocks 5R1 and 5R2, Block A, Meadow Place Estate, City of Willow Park, Parker County, Texas. Betty?
Thank you, Mayor. This is a minor replat. They would like to adjust, for development purposes, moving the side lot line between 3 and 5 feet to the north. This will allow for the development of both lots. It is just a minor replat there. It will not affect the lots as far as minimum size and being able to build on them. And this comes forth also with a favorable recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Commission and staff.
Any questions for Betty?
Thank you.
Do we have a motion?
I'll move that we accept the final plat for lots 5R1 and 5R2, Middle Place Estate.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Item number 5, presentation by Mr. Kyle. What's your middle name? Aaron. I almost said Aaron. Kyle Wilkes, updates on the shops in Willow Park.
Yes, sir. First off, I'd like to thank the council and mayor, city manager for allowing me to speak this evening. My name is Kyle Wilkes. I will do my best not to put everyone to sleep. Alicia, oh, you're ahead of me. You got it up there. So I wanted to speak tonight and just kind of talk about the development. We call it Willow Park North. And you can go to that next slide, Alicia, if you want. We started here in 2011. There was a cow pasture and a racetrack there, and we just found that combination in the best little town we could find. So anyway, and we decided this is where we wanted to be. We had some experience in the county. Been here a while. I lived in Brock. Is this thing on? Okay. So anyway, I just fell in love with the community. So just want to talk a little bit about the history, why we decided to build out the development as we have, where we brought that in. You're going to be seeing here in the next 12 months, as you guys have already experienced, and a lot of growth, a lot of projects coming your way. So I just wanted to kind of show that we have kind of planned this out. It is a master plan development. There's a lot of thought put into it, and kind of how we came up with some of these assumptions. So if you can go to the next slide. For those of you who don't know, it's right there on 20. A lot of people refer to it as the shops at Willow Park. That's one element. There's a lot of multifamily in there. We're currently doing some single-family home development, super pads on the east side of that river. And you can go to the next slide. I'm going to move through these slides fairly quickly just because I was warned by my secretary that I had way too many slides. And as you can see, there's quite a few. So like I said, we started with a cow pasture and a horse track, but we started in the best little town we could find. You can go to the next slide. When we took on this project, the racetrack had been abandoned for about 15 years, a little bit more actually. And it kind of stood out. It was a big kind of eyesore. It was an element of danger, a safety hazard. I think we had some criminal activity in there in the past because it was a 150,000 square foot building, abandoned for 15 years. It's going to have its ups and downs. But the main thing I want to focus on, it was given zero economic impact to the city of Willow Park. But in some ways, I feel like it was also harming Willow Park in that it sat there, and everybody who went down 20, which is roughly 78,000 cars a day, they saw that, they had questions about it, and it was a debunked racetrack, which is not, any of our idea of our first impression we want to make on somebody traveling down the interstate. And go to the next slide, please. So I threw in a few of these pictures so that you can kind of see where it was. You can just flip through the next one. There's a lot of cleanup that needed to be done. There still is a little bit of cleanup that needs to be done. Obviously, being a racetrack, they had they didn't call it online betting back in the day. I'm not sure what they called it, but they had a big need for these satellites. But so when we started, we first wanted to bring in the people. We wanted to build a place for people and get that density up, because people and density, it drives everything, and it was kind of our first step. So we were the ones who developed the first two phases of the multifamily down there. So we roughly 258 units, and we feel like we built them to a level that they'll be a long-term asset in the community. And that was kind of the first kind of stepping off point. It was shortly after that, you can go to the next slide, that we purchased the racetrack, kind of combined them. We liked Willow Park so much that's where we really decided, hey, we're going to commit to a larger plan. You can go to the next slide. So, how did we collectively decide what we would develop in the collective? The city of Willow Park in 2014 did a comp plan, and so that's kind of where we started. We had a lot of back and forth with the city and a lot of communication and just talking to the city up into 2014 about how it would be designed, what the city ultimately wanted, and when they came out with the comp plan, it was extremely beneficial from a developer's perspective. I think the comp plan was put together over a 6-month period. You kind of had two groups. There were like the focus groups that kind of collectively brought this together. I'm sorry, you can go to the next slide, Alicia. I'm not very good at this, so. So anyway, in the next few slides, you'll see in your handout, a lot of times we reference pages just so it'll be easier. So our development is in area 3, planning area 3. So you can go, yeah, you got it, you're ahead of me. We're in area 3, so we have high visibility from 20. And then each one of these slides, you can kind of read through, it kind of explains what it is. You'll see certain words come up a lot as we walk through the comp plan from 2014. A lot of those are open spaces, parks, life cycle housing. You know, you'll see a lot of these things kind of show up, partnership, community, as we go through there. So one thing that was quickly brought up as we went through and had discussions with the city, starting all the way back in 2011 when we initially closed on the first purchase, it's just, you know, the tax base. We were always looking for that retail component, the sales tax component, something, and then kind of that landmark place that people would know, okay, I know where Willow Park is when you drive down 20, because geographically we're extremely blessed, I believe, having the interstate running through us, and then just being in such a great county, extremely blessed with the ISD. Can't thank those people enough. But so in the city's comp plan, there's a list of goals. You can go to the next slide. Goal number 1. And I'll just read this. Ensure that future development is orderly and efficient, compatible with existing land uses, and enhances the overall quality of life for Willow Park. On page 31 of that goal 1, it says, provide a variety of land uses to diversify Willow Park's tax base. So I feel like we've made huge strides in that area. Just partnership that we've formed, working with the city's been extremely helpful in getting us to where, and when we go out and look for tenants, and we go out and try to find businesses to move in, having a supportive city is crucial to being able to attract those people. So if you would go to the next slide. We made a quick list of just some of the businesses that have came into the city over the last 18, 24 months. So you see restaurants, you see offices, you see professional buildings. We did a quick count. There's roughly, we believe there's a little over 250 jobs inside that area that we showed early on. You can go to the next slide. We also know that there's a lot more to come, which is one reason I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about this, is because you will be seeing a lot of these opportunities come before council. You know, we've got new office tenants that we want to build more office and bring in those jobs. We've got a Spring Hill by Marriott coming in. We're currently working on a bank. We've got more restaurants coming in. I think everybody is in fan of more options when it comes to eating out. I know that's something that I enjoy myself. So I think we can easily say it's 250 and counting on the job count. And then if you look at goal 2, and I'm not the greatest with these slides, but I've kind of blown up the key points in some of these. So goal 2 of the city's comp plan is seek opportunities to establish backage roads to support development along the Interstate 20 corridor. Which, being in Willow Park, you can go to the next slide. Being in Willow Park, roads are always a big issue. In any city, roads are always a big issue. They're always a hot topic. So this is nothing new, but I do feel like we have, through the partnership that we've created with the city, I think we are, tackling that. It's always a long-term deal. But the use of concrete, which Ranch House is a great example. I give a lot of credit to the council to getting that one concreted. And then, like with some of the roads that we've done, is Shops Boulevard. You see how Meadows Place is coming along, concrete. These concrete roads, it really brings in a higher end quality, and I think helps us start to really get to the goal that the city set forth in 2014. And we want to continue that process. So we hope to do that in the future, and I think you'll count on it. As you'll see stuff that comes before you, we plan on it being concrete. Goal number 3 is obviously provide quality, safety, attractive neighborhoods. And in objective 3.1 in the city's comp plan, it said provide a range of quality housing types to make Willow Park a full life cycle community. That's, I think, in my mind, the way I read that is we don't want to have people get to their mid-20s and they move off to Fort Worth, and we don't want to have our senior citizens not have a place to go. We want to have a place for every life cycle so that people can grow up in Willow Park and surrounding communities, and they can stay here. And I think that's key to providing all that life cycle of housing. As the city seemed to think as well, that's stated in their goal number 3. So just, you can go to the next slide. Nothing super special about that, just kind of talking about life cycle community, and then we put in a picture from the old playground area there at the shops. You can go to goal 5, the next slide. So maintaining quality of life is crucial. Giving residents here a place they can work, live, play. ProFrac came in, they brought in roughly around 50 employees, and one thing that we've heard from them that they've really enjoyed is they like the ability to have their people by housing close and then be able to come down at lunch and just walk to where they want to eat. It's really hard to find that in most parts of Park County, especially if you get very far away from a big city. That becomes very hard to find. And I think if we stick with this plan and the overall development, and we continue to add in the trails, the parks, bring in new restaurants, bring in new businesses, we can create something that truly is a kind of an urban lifestyle, but in almost like a rural setting. I mean, those two sayings usually don't go together very good, but I believe that's the opportunity that we have. I think we have an opportunity here in Willow Park that most other cities would be envious of. You can go to the next slide. One of the things that I wanted to bring up, because I know in 2015, when we did our first private-public partnership, which was the TERS, where we did a deal where, as taxes base increased, we would do infrastructure, and then there was a reimbursement deal. I know there was a lot of thought and effort that went into that. But I think that's really starting to pay dividends now. It's allowing us to do things now that most cities that you'd go to without that partnership would have to put off and keep pushing off just because of some of the costs. So once again, the city really worked great with us and has helped us ever since then. You can go to the next slide. And I know I'm getting close to putting everybody to sleep, but I'm going through this. I'm going through this as fast as I can. And the next slide is just talking a little bit about communities. The shop's Facebook has almost 8,000 users from all around this area. The restaurants draw people from all around this area. As we build out, you're going to start seeing that landmark. And I would encourage the city, and I know the city has, but we want the city to get involved also as far as, kind of branding, kind of your west side and your east side, to really kind of give that brand so people know when they've entered Willow Park. We think that in the long term that's very important. So future land use, if you look at the comp plan, it talks a lot about town center, and I'm not going to go read. You can turn to the next slide. I'm not going to read any of this. We'll just jump through. But it talks a lot about town center, where the town center is. It is in the Willow Park North area, and that's one of the driving forces that we use. You can go to the next slide as we're kind of designing around that element. Just some more on the town center, and we hope in the next few slides I'm going to show you kind of what we're thinking about on the park side, because open space, green space, trails, and all that, if you can get it close to the office and the restaurants, it's real big, and it also helps from drawing tenants, drawing jobs and users into your community. So what is town center? What it means to us is community, regional destination. It should be vibrant. We should use spell check every once in a while. Small town it's a small town values, big city experience. We want something recognizable where people say, hey, you need to go over there and look at Willow Park and see how they did it. That's what we hope to accomplish. And it's where people come together. You know, it's spaces where people can feel comfortable, and it's a place that they resonate with. Land use. You can go to the next slide. It talks a little bit about the intensity, and this area that we showed early. It is kind of designed to be the most intense part. So we talked to a lot of fellow citizens and residents and community members, and nobody wants to lose that small town feel, because that's why so many of us are here, and that's kind of drawn us all in. But at the same time, there usually is, even in the smallest towns, there's that area that's kind of like the center, the town square, the vibrant area, and it is a little bit more denser, as the comp plan pointed out. And then you can go to that next slide, kind of saying the same thing. You can go to the next slide. Okay, so embracing nature, walkability. We have an asset in this town that most towns don't have, and the ones that do are, especially now in kind of the new way they're designing new developments with the rivers and all the green space. So instead of, like in the old days, you would take the floodplain area and the river, and everybody would turn their backs to it and act like it was something they were ashamed of. Nowadays, that's something that everybody wants to focus on, and we want to incorporate. And you can move dirt around, but you can't move 400-year-old trees and creeks and nature and all that stuff. So we have a huge asset in our community in having that kind of runs through. We can continue on to the next slide. So just kind of same thing. Just we want to embrace nature and some of the assets that we have. So we want to do walking trails, children's park, recreation areas, give it a sense of place. We want to do some public art opportunities down there, something that's a little bit more unique. And we have all that kind of in the works, as you'll be seeing over the next few months. We can go to the next slide. And talks just a little bit more about the residential uses, urban lofts, live-above units, townhomes, brownstones. We can continue on to this next slide, and that's kind of our development plan. You see those thin yellow lines of the trails. We want to put the restaurants down there along the river. We want to give multiple access points across the river there for pedestrian, and then we have a vehicular bridge planned currently to connect the two sides, going back to just road circulation is critical. But that's kind of where we're going. We have in this master plan, I believe there's 34 to 40 acres of open space in that plain, in that floodplain there. And anyway, so that's kind of our master plan. If you would go to the next slide, it's a little bit of a blow up of the west side. So the white there that says shops, that's currently built. And then that next area there is really a focus. We want to put an outdoor amphitheater there, splash pad. And you got to do this. We want to do this stuff right. We want to have a little drive-through, a drop-off area. You bring in the office, and then you have that pocket park there, which is a lot bigger than most pocket parks. It's like roughly like 4 acres. Yeah, I'll spit it out. I'm sorry. Okay, I got to get through this. I got other things to do. So, anyway, go to the next slide. Just talks a little bit about what is Willow Park North. And you can just start flipping through these. I don't want to keep you guys here all night. Yeah, just go. So that's the shops and some of the office and some of the stuff that's currently going on. You'll be seeing this office building proposed shortly. Just, you can keep going. That's just... Yeah, I've already showed you that slide. You can keep going. So anyway, I guess what I'd like to do is just kind of, I just want to give you this update. Promise I'm almost done. And then, if anybody has questions or concerns or whatever, as we go through this process, I'm here, I'm around. You guys can reach out to me. And I thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. And if you were bored, I apologize, but I hope this kind of just gave you an overall view of what we're trying to do from my perspective.
I came in after Willow Park partnered with you, but my experience, and since I've been here, has been a great relationship with Willow's development.
Thank you. That means a lot.
I
That means a lot.
appreciate all the work and high-quality work you guys are doing. That's awesome.
Well, we appreciate it. We appreciate the staff here. It's been excellent to work with. So anyway, we'll keep working for you guys. Thanks.
Thank you.
Not bad, but it's consistent.
Item number 6 was presentation by Jake Weber on quarterly financials.
Definitely some exciting stuff you guys have going on, so it looks really neat. So this is going to be, just so you know, this is the full fiscal year we'll be looking at now. So you get a good picture of fiscal year from October 1, 2017 to September 30, 2018, and kind of see where we ended up on some of these items. If you look, I'm going to go to kind of high level, start on that first page. You see on the general fund, small surplus, but close to breaking even. And we kind of talked about this at some of the other meetings. You start out the year, you get a lot of your, the bulk of your property taxes in that first fiscal quarter. So you start out in a big surplus. But obviously, as the year progresses, that comes down because of your expenses. So that's why earlier in the year we had a much larger surplus and it's come down. But you can see we're still, ahead there. And then also in your water and your wastewater surplus again, which is comparable to the last couple of years we've had there as the user charges have continued to increase, more homes on the system, that type of thing. And also with the management of expenses, there's been some additional cash that has built up in those funds. Just looking at percentage there, you can see on your enterprise funds, your water, wastewater, again, your revenues there, strong revenue, 100% of budget is what's helping you out there. And then on the wastewater, your expenses are over, and a lot of that is going to be the repair and maintenance to some of the system there, and we'll look at some of those line items, but that's the reason for the increase on that. On that capital project tracker, you can kind of see, just want to give you a high level of where we're at on some of those projects. You can see that with the public works building and the road, we're obviously starting to spend some of those dollars now, so that those costs are being incurred. You can see what's left in the bank account there in each of those projects. So obviously on the building, still quite a bit to do, but on the roads, you can see we're about halfway done in terms of cash on that. And obviously the package plant is just about done, and I don't know if there's anything left on that to come through, but you can see there. So kind of going through, I'm going to go through just again some of the detailed P&L, and if you have questions on anything, just let me know. So on page,
What page are you on?
on page 2, so looking on general fund page 2, look at the revenue. Just a couple of things I was going to point out. Your M&O tax, you're up about $170,000 from last year. So that's obviously good growth that you're having there. And then your sales tax, again, you're up about $170,000 on that as well. So you broke $1 million on the sales tax. That's a pretty good accomplishment. I know when, Brian, what did we talk 8 months ago, and you're looking at some of the projections, and you're hoping to be at $1 million in a year and a half or 2 years maybe. And so to hit that this year, and I'll show you on the graph at the end. I mean, you'll really see probably, I want to say since maybe January, February, the numbers have really started to ramp up. And a lot of it's because of the new restaurants and things like that have come online. We started getting paid for here in this calendar year.
That, and I'll bring this up later on, we got our sales tax for the month of, I guess, October's filing, so we got November's collections. We are up 150% from November of 2017. So we brought in 106,000 for the month. And if you keep seeing that kind of trajectory, which I think is stable and sustainable, $1 million, we'll hit that in the third quarter.
So it's just obviously that's great growth and something to keep an eye on. I wanted to point out there. So, so if you look your total on your property tax and other sales tax, you're about $335,000 plus from last year. So That's a great indicator there. Another thing at the bottom there, your development permit fees, you're up about $85,000 over last year. Then the other thing on page 3 I was going to point out, when you look at total revenue, last year we had some one-time items, so it's like some of the bond proceeds. When you're comparing year over year, just kind of keep that in mind, is that those are in last year's other revenue, which really those are just an in and an out. That was for a fire truck last year. We got the bond proceeds in and then had them out. So that's why your total revenue line items don't look like the increase is as much, but it really is when you look at some of the detail there. On page 4, the only thing I was going to point out there, obviously your personnel costs are up about $140,000. I think there was an overall increase, and also with the health insurance was the result of some of that as well. So those are the big areas why you're seeing a little bit increase in cost on that, which I know we've kind of discussed in the past as well.
Somebody need to get that.
I thought I had it on mute. I did when I came in. Okay, sorry.
There was, unless you have questions, there wasn't any other major line items on the next couple pages that I saw that we haven't discussed in the past, or that there hasn't been that we would need to look at. You can see there's a few items on there that you are a little bit higher on some of your expenditures, but obviously you have that budgeted as well, so it just, those are some items that are part of just recurring operations. But otherwise, any questions on general fund, any of those line items there?
It's nice to have a good report, isn't it?
It is, absolutely. I feel like they've been good for a while now, looking at, that's right, yeah, last couple of years. Looking at your water funds on page 7, again, I just point out the user charges. They're up about $245,000 from last year. I know you've had a lot of new homes in the system this year, and that's the biggest reason for that. Total revenue, so the impact fees were down a little bit from last year, so your total revenue on your water fund is up about $163,000. So still good growth on that as well. With your expenditures, the only couple of things I was going to point out is on page 8, that engineering, city engineer, there's some stuff in there. You see that's over budget. We spent $75,000, budget was $36,000. That was some water line improvements, some engineering that went into some of the water improvements that we've done. And then also, if you look on page 9, there's 3 line items on there. One of we had the water purchases, the emergency water purchase that was done in June or July this year. So that's that $71,000 that you see there, $71,612. And then these other water distribution, water production right under that. Those are some of the expenditures that have been done to either put new wells in or the overhaul of some of these existing wells to obviously get the production back up. So those are those costs.
Real quick to that point, the plan was to draw out the TechStart funds of $1.5 million to pay for those capital expenditures. But we kind of felt if we could preserve that as much as we can, then we can probably do more things later on.
I thought we had to spend it.
We will be spending it.
Well, I meant like within, we were tight on time.
Yeah, we will be spending it very quickly.
I have no doubt that you can spend it.
So again, you still see it's still a good year for water.
More projects than we have money.
And we'll see there's still some cash in the bank, so that's good. We'll see that as well. Looking on page 10, wastewater, again, user fees, you're up $84,000, consistent with your other enterprise funds. You're seeing just the growth there, new users on the system there. The only things I would point out there on page 11 is you're going to see on the operational and contractual services, you're up $143,000. So you have built into that contractual services and lift station equipment maintenance, and it's basically the repair and maintenance on some of that lift station that hadn't been done there. So that's what some of those costs are. And then also under that consultants and professionals, I think there was had to do with that agreement with Weatherford and some of the fees there. So that's some one-time expenses that were built in as to why we're over budget on the expense side on the wastewater. Looking on page 12, so this is just going to see, I went ahead and put in there last year at September 30th, so you can see year over year, and then also the most recent quarter as of June 30th. It kind of gives you a feel for just our cash balances in our bank account. You can see on the general fund, like I talked about, It's kind of cyclical, just depending on the time of the year and when you're getting your tax revenue. You can see on the water fund, one of the things we looked at, so just in your operating account alone, you're at almost $1.2 million there. So like we talked about, there's cash in the operating account that's been building up from the surplus we've had. And then also that Techstar water capital improvements, that's that $1,537,000. That's the money you're talking about, that it was from that prior bond that we have to spend on water improvements. The big thing you'll see in the wastewater is obviously we have spent a lot of that money on the temporary package plants. That's why that as total cash has come down so much. And then the only other thing I was going to point out, if you look on those graphs, I was going to mention is that second one down, you can see the sales tax, and you see right there in about March or June, that's a 12-month moving average, and you kind of see it's been fairly steady increase, and then it really starts to kick up there. So I think that's something we'll keep an eye on, just with the sales tax growth that we've had mentioned before. Any questions on anything, any of those numbers, or anything else you all want to look at?
You use the term over budget times, and that can be scary to the public.
Yeah.
Can you kind of give us an idea of what that looks like, that we're not going in the hole, referring back to our balances?
Yeah. All that means is that, obviously, at the beginning of the year, we have budgeted amounts for the various expenditures and the revenue that we estimate to come in. And during the year, we spent more than we had budgeted for those particular line items. But as you see this year, we have a surplus this year. So that surplus is unspent. So we have prior year surpluses that are used to spend on that. And so that's how you can go over budget, is because you have prior year surpluses that can be used to supplement that.
And for the sake of the public, can you just go ahead and quote off what our surplus is right now?
So in general fund, it's $57,739. Water is $645,837, and wastewater is $155,428. And those are the three major funds that we'd be looking at.
And if you take those three funds, you were looking at $833,272 surplus as of the end of 4Q.
Plus you have a solid waste fund that I think we're maybe about $80,000 surplus for the year as well. It's just a minor fund that we didn't report on here for the year. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you got 300, 350
in cash in that account. Exactly. Yeah. So if you look exactly, so, and that's something we've looked at in the past. Yeah. If you look at the solid waste, that's $353,000 in there that have built up over the last several years. Mm-hmm. Then in reality, you probably only need about $50,000 there for your operating cycle. So you have some cash there that you could spend for other projects if you needed to, whether it be roads or whatever y'all would determine to do on that. So there's some things that I know we talked about it. I believe it was either last month or the month before when we changed the investment policy. Here in October, we have moved some of the money around. So next time you look at it, it'll be a little more clear as to. We move money in the operating account just to cover, I want to say it was a 90 or 120 day. We did 120, so basically 120 day of expenditures in the operating, and we had some in a reserve account and the rest in an investment account. So you can clearly see, hey, the operating we're going to leave alone, that covers expenditures, but you have this other cash here that you can look and see, would you want to keep, use this for capital improvements or whatever else you might want to look at there. So
the 120 day, just for sake of everybody, if we didn't collect a single water bill, didn't get a single dollar of sales tax, or any sort of other revenues, we could still operate and function for a 120-day period. When the F5 hits Willow Park, we're going to be okay.
And that doesn't count. We still have reserves beyond that. Yeah. So, but it'll give a clear picture on the cash to see, well, we have this and operating this in cash, but, saying, hey, we have this extra money that obviously it will continue to, build interest and that type of thing, but you also can use it for different uses and needs the city has.
We have questions for Jay. Thank you, Jay. Mm-hmm. Item number 7, consider and take action on Tyler Technologies contract. Mr. Grimes.
I'll let Kirk Cunningham with Tyler Technologies take over while he's coming up. Kirk's going to tell you about what Tyler Technologies, most commonly known as Encode, is. It is probably the gold standard for municipal software in the state of Texas. as of about 3 years ago, you were running your city, and you can tell that you have plenty of finances, but you were running your city off of QuickBooks. And then we graduated to what I would consider better than QuickBooks, but not quite as good as the standard dental program. The current program that we have is not user-friendly. You almost have to have a degree in DOS to go back to where you are to simply pull a financial report, and it doesn't allow us the vehicles to grow. And so probably the biggest issue that we have is we're going to come to you guys to invest in smart meter technology for our water meters. That technology does not interface very well with our current software program. And so it is a source of consternation between the water department and the building department. And I've had to break up a couple of fights. I'm pretty sure Alicia was about to knock the crap out of Raymond one day.
That's not on the agenda.
So, without further ado, I want to introduce Kirk Cunningham. He's a sales rep with Encode. Y'all be nice to him. He's from West Texas, the great city of Shallow Water, Texas. And
take it away. Thank you, Brian. We're excited to be here and work with y'all. How many of y'all know anything about Tyler? Because I don't want to go through a bunch of stuff that you don't know. Let me give you a little background. Tyler Technologies, I've got a little something working in my throat, so I apologize. Tyler Technologies is the largest provider of public sector software in the country. We work in all 50 states. We actually have clients in Canada, Puerto Rico, United Kingdom, and now Australia. What I'm here to talk about is Willow Park and what we provide out of our division in Lubbock. We have 5 divisions. Tyler is based in Dallas, or in Plano, actually. And then the division I work with is called the Local Government Division in Lubbock. We manage almost 3,000 clients out of that Lubbock office. More than 500 of those are municipal government clients in Texas. And to give you an idea of your neighbors who have been with us, the city of Weatherford has been with us since 97, Granbury 98, Benbrook 98, Stephenville 99, Azle 94. I just sold Justin a couple of years ago in 2016, Bowie in 2014, so forth, so on. Our specialty is a city the size of Willow Park. I mean, that's our where we focus. Cities that are around 5,000 to 20,000 population, and I sold the city of Menard last year. So I sell smaller than Willow Park, I promise you. I just sold this summer, I was proud of this one, sold Loving County, which I don't know if y'all are aware of this. This is out in west of Odessa, and it is the second least populated county in the country. They have 103 residents. I thought they were number 1, but there's a county in Hawaii somewhere that has 88 residents. But in Loving County, they are awash in oil, so it's a little different situation. Anyway, to get back on track, we're excited to work with y'all, especially seeing what I'm seeing tonight, because y'all are a growing community. You're planning, you're growing, your revenue is going up, you're doing community development, and what we have put together for y'all with the Encode software, our company is called Tyler Technologies. The Encode software is the actual product. And we're going to provide the financial management, the payroll and personnel management, the community development in building projects and inspections and call center, and then also the utility billing portion, of course, as well as document management. We were here in June and did a demo for your staff, and it was very well received, and we showed them a lot of places where they're going to save a ton of time. One of those things that we do that Candy especially enjoyed was the Excel product that we have. We incorporate Excel into we're not in the product. Our software is proprietary, but you can move it out to Excel, work it, massage it, and bring it back in easily. And a lot of people enjoy working with Excel, and so that gives you an extra benefit. Y'all have an Excel nut in the room? Okay. Well, Anyway, if you like working Excel, especially in the budgeting tool in that area. So anyway, we were well received with the demonstration. Brian is a hard negotiator. We put a very good package together. We have cut costs on areas that we needed to and got both the financial management, the payroll personnel management, document management, and court case software included, as well as the Brazos ticket writers. I'll take a breath and let you all ask a question or anything that you might have now.
So when you say document management, is like all our ordinances and everything that are going to be?
Document management is scanning documents. It's like invoices, purchase orders, personnel management records. You scan them into the system. It's an electronic storage cabinet. But what Tyler Content Manager does is it enables you to have it indexed and easily found where people can share the information more easily. So it gets rid of file cabinets and things like that. And you can go back, you can scan old documents, or you can just start clean and start from now when you go live with the software. One more thing too, real quick. Tyler, we're very blessed because we have so many clients. We have so many clients in Texas, and we have a Tyler community site where our users share information. We have over 3,000 users that share information. And so these cities that are around you, and by the way, you're going to have a more modern product than the city of Weatherford and others as well, because you're getting our latest version of called Encode 10, and those cities are on either 8 or 9, which is an older version. But anyway, this product came out in 10 and 11. I sold some of the first clients in Texas back then. It is a mature product. You are not going to be a guinea pig. Some of the people I sold back then were guinea pigs, I promise you. But no, it's a mature product, and it does has a lot of functionality. But Tyler Community lets you learn things from other users, as well as a learning management system that we provide called Tyler University that has tons of tutorials and training for the staff to learn the product. And of course, the on-site training is going to be here. I'm sorry, no one gets a free trip to Lubbock. I know y'all are disappointed, but anyway, he would be. But anyway, and I did not include season football tickets or anything in this for Brian. That's not part of the package, I promise. Anyway, I shouldn't even brought that up.
It was basketball.
Basketball, that's what it was, yeah.
That's not on the agenda.
Anyway.
So how much time frame for us moving to this new system?
Okay, that's the one thing I wish I could tell you a little bit shorter frame. We're shooting to try to get our implementation timeline down to 6 months, but right now it's 9 months to a year. So honestly, if we are able to contract this month, to be realistic, you need to plan on not being finally trained and everything live for a year. We will do our best to get it in 9 months, but it just takes some time, and we'll be working all along that time. But there are just a lot of things to accomplish during that time.
Can you stage certain modules in? Can you stage in utility billing, stage in?
Yeah. In fact, what we'll do, we do the financials first because the GL is the core of the whole thing. So we'll schedule with you when we get our project manager assigned and work with you. We'll do the financials first, and then we'll come back in and we'll do the utilities and the community development apps and that kind of thing.
Do you have a permitting process online too?
Mm-hmm. We do.
So when Mr. Wilkes has a permit that he needs to pull or he needs to download or he needs to acquire, he can simply go to the website and get the information he needs.
He can. Absolutely. I think he'll like it.
Wow.
So in this transition, is that a combination of city and your staff, or is it mostly your staff, or how's that going to work?
So the transition is there will be a certain amount of data that we'll capture. We're not going to keep everything. I think we put a certain date out there. Anything beyond that, we're not going to keep. And so we will transfer that data from the current software to Encode. That's probably the biggest part of the implementation. I'm not going to get too technical and geeky on you because that's all the bits and the ones and the zeros.
Well, my concern is, is it going to eat a lot of staff time, and are we going to, not have the people to do the job, or is this mostly your company's staff that's doing this work?
Most of it's going to be the Tyler Technology folks interfacing with Candy.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm not going to blow smoke. It is work because you're doing your regular work and we're training you on a new system too. But we don't run parallel. What we'll do is you're working in your current system and we're working over here and training you on the new system. And then we get to a transition point where we have pulled all the data, we have current live data, and then we move over and we start working in the Encode software. And that helps cut down on the amount of time that your staff has to put into it.
Your technicians, your engineers that pull that information in.
Yeah, and they're on site working with you, and absolutely, when y'all do your first payroll run, someone is right here holding your hand and making sure it goes right, because the last thing we want with payroll is that people's paychecks are messed up. They are not happy. As well as a UB run, whenever you're going to make your first AP run or UB, all the utilities and everything, we have people on site that are working with you at that point to make sure it goes well.
And then,
No, you go ahead.
so all the financials, we're going to verify, here's where we stopped, and then when we cut it over, make sure that the bottom line there is still balancing out.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, say F5 hits Tyler Technologies, what's the fail-safe? Like, I'm not tech savvy, so say just the system goes down or some kind of weird thing happens, what kind of fail-safe is there?
Okay, and that's something we talked about. Right now, if I remember correctly, your internet connectivity right now is not really at the level y'all want it to be. And that's something that we offer. We offer the cloud, of course. And that's something we may want to move to eventually. It's totally your option, but we do offer to host your data in the cloud in Dallas. It's in I've been told it's in a Federal Reserve Bank building in downtown Dallas, very secure. But anyway, what we're doing right now is it's going to be on your servers here. And so it will be your responsibility to back up the servers and take care of that and everything. We offer a service to back that up ourselves. I'll be totally honest with you, it's not cheap. For us to back it up, it's not cheap. But this will be hosted on your servers here.
Can our servers handle all this?
Yes.
Can?
Yes.
And we currently do a daily off-site backup of our servers.
Any other questions?
Sure. So you have a proprietary operating system. So that was the other part of this is our current computers, are they going to need to be upgraded to handle his OS?
I think we could handle the current computers could handle it. I will tell you this, that we will, regardless if you do Encode or Smoke Signal, you're going to need to upgrade the computers you have in the building.
So we're looking at next budget cycle?
Most likely, yes. The computer that I have, I think, is probably one of the newest ones, and it's probably 3 or 4 years old. I know Candy's computer, 8 years old maybe?
Oh.
I know the Surface Pro that I have can't last more than an hour on a charge. So we have a technology gap, just from a hardware standpoint, that we would have to address, regardless of Encode or the current provider.
And what modules is Tyler providing? Encode modules?
Well, the Encode modules in the package that we're providing, it's broken down into a lot of different pieces. But to go through it, there's a core financial piece that's just the basis of your financial package. It is the GL, the AP, budget preparation and management, bank reconciliation, and journal entry. And then you're going to have building projects and call center. You're going to have a cashiering module to take payments for both court and for utilities. You'll have the utility billing system that'll help you send out bills. The Tyler Content Manager piece, that's what the document scanning and that sort of thing includes. Then you get into personnel management, which also includes, personnel management includes an employee self-service module where employees can get online through a secure login and look at information. They can see how much vacation time they have. They can submit a vacation request. If they're getting a loan at a bank and the banker wants their last 2 pay stubs, they can print that themselves. So I'm not sure if that's what all you were meaning.
Well, I was trying to key on, you mentioned court records, anything else relating to?
Yeah, complete court case management, court records, collection interface to your agency that you work with on collections now. Excuse me. And you'll have the document management piece on that side as well in order to scan documents and so forth. You'll have online payments for court and for utility billing.
And just the reason I'm keying in on the court piece is there's a presumed liability in dealing with court cases. Does Tyler take on any liability?
Well, we don't really take on the liability. One thing that you are blessed with is Carol Gant. Carol and I work together. I've worked with her for a long time, and you have a wonderful person there, but she definitely knows how to run a court. And no, I don't believe that we take on liability, but that's in the contractual part of it, and I don't really get into that.
Anything else? Do we have a motion to award the contract to Tyler Technologies?
What was the cost?
For all.
The cost for all of it together? Well, let's look and see. The financial portion is $94,767, and now this is the first year cost. And the court, and I apologize, I don't have the copy that has the Brazos ticket riders in it. What do you have for the court and the Brazos ticket riders?
I have a total of all of it together at $151,000 one-time fee, and the annual cost at $19,000, which is less than we're annually paying right now. And we are getting court, we're getting development, we're getting areas that we currently don't have software for. And like the court right now currently doesn't integrate into STW. We have to manually, pull that stuff into STW. So it's going to be better all the way around, and our annual cost is going to be lower than what we're paying right now.
Is there a specific number of licenses included in this?
No, and that's one of the advantages of doing this the way you are. Whenever you purchase software and host it on your server, you have a site license, and so it can have as many users as you want. When it's in the cloud, it's a seat license, and so there is a higher cost. But no, you have unlimited usage with the plan we put together.
So I have one more question. Security.
Mm-hmm.
Who takes care of the security to keep all this data, keep everything safe? I realize, there's the cloud, if we want to invest in that. Is that something?
So, well, if it's kept locally, it's going to be the server, and if it's backed up to our third-party vendor, they'll be encrypted at that point.
Okay.
Do we have a motion?
Make a motion to award the software contract to Tyler Technologies as written.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Trevor.
Item number 8, to consider and take action to award bid on church parking lot. Here's Father Jay.
Thank you. So this is the repaving or the paving of the parking lot at St. Francis Episcopal. This was actually, if you recall, this was bid in it was an alternate in the road project bids that we took. We separated it out and rebid it, and the low bid on the alternates on that original bid was $153,000, give or take. And on the rebid, or on the sole bid, we had 6 bids received. The low bid was by AJ Backhoe Services, and the low bid was $142,803. The bids ranged between that $142,000 to roughly $199,918. So it's, and for the within the budget that we had projected, this is well below that. I think we projected $160,000 originally. So we didn't find any reason to disqualify the low bidder, and we'd recommend awarding to A&J Backhoe Services.
Do we have a motion?
So quick question. How come the county's not doing that?
It's a private, it's not public, it's not city property. The county can't contract for that.
Do we have a motion?
Why we're doing the parking lot?
No.
Do you want to do that?
I'll let you. It's complicated.
It's way overdue.
Do you want me to?
They granted us an easement to put in a street,
Canyon Court.
And as part of the easement, or part of the right-of-way acquisition, they asked for us to pave their parking lot instead of a cash purchase. We would pay the parking lot. We agreed to that. And that was 5 years ago? 6 years
More
ago?
than that.
Yeah.
Eight
Yeah.
8 or 9.
What I've heard is,
A long time
It was
ago.
ancient history.
yeah.
Do we have a motion?
I move that we accept the bid to pay for the parking lot.
Second.
I'll second.
Any other discussion?
Do we need to accept the bid?
Yeah. we have to-
So we need to name the name.
Yeah. Yes. Move to accept the bid by A.J. Barrel Services.
Sorry, A&J Bobcat Service.
Bob?
Yeah, yeah.
We have a motion, we have a second.
Yes.
Led, second. Any other discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Thanks, Gary. Consider and take action on donating fire department surplus equipment. Mr. Lenore.
Yes, sir. All right, I promise I'll make this short and sweet. What I'm asking for is a recommendation for an approval for a multi-use short form, basically for discarding surplus equipment instead of having to come every single time and have a resolution for every single article that's wanting to be donated. I've had quite a few citizens ask for expired fire hose. In the past, it was just given away. I know with municipality, we've got to do certain things of discarding equipment. I've got hand tools that I want to donate to the Texas Forestry Service that they're in need of. Old radios that are VHF that we're not even using currently. These were previous to our current radios. Some old nozzles, intake suction lines for the pumpers. I've got some sump pumps that we're not using and gas cans. But this is all just surplus equipment that is just sitting, taking up space at Station 2.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So this is specific, you're not asking for any future, it's just for the equipment that you have now that's surplus?
Yes, ma'am. This
Okay.
is getting rid of old equipment. I've
What
got
you have
old
now.
bunker gear that we can't use anymore because of state regulations.
Right.
And so I'd like to donate that to volunteer departments that aren't under our same state regulations. And the list of other equipment that I had, the radios, nozzles.
Just making sure.
And if anything comes up later on, you'll come
It
back.
has to come back. I just wanted to-
Yes, sir.
Yes. We have a motion.
Trying to figure out how to move it.
I move that we donate the existing outdated surplus equipment. We allow the chief to donate the existing
Second.
surplus equipment.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Number 10, just consider and take action to adopt negotiated Texas gas rate.
So for the past several months, several cities, including Willow Park, Hudson Oaks, Weatherford, Graham, Aledo, Grayford, and Mineral Wells, and I'm pretty sure there's one or two more, have been negotiating with Texas Gas. As you know, natural gas is a regulated industry. We fall within the Texas Gas realm, if you will. And the city of Weatherford, one of their council members, took the lead on negotiating this. Typically what happens is you retain a law firm out of Austin, Boyd Gosling or someone like that, and they negotiate this rate down for you. Weatherford was fortunate enough and blessed enough to have a council member with experience of this who did it pro bono. And so Heidi did a great job of negotiating our gas rate down. And I think every city except for us in Hudson Oaks passed on Thursday has adopted the gas rate, the increase that you have in front of you.
Do we have a motion?
Do we have to read this ordinance?
You should read the caption, yes, ma'am.
I move that we adopt ordinance number 782-18, an ordinance establishing maximum rates to be charged for gas sold to customers by Texas Gas Service Company, Division of One Gas Incorporated, and Oklahoma Corporation in the city of Willow Park, Texas, and declaring this ordinance to be a final determination of rates.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Do we have any other discussion? in favor? Thank you. Item number 11, consider and take action on approving an interlocal agreement with Hudson Oaks to fund, construct, and maintain certain water supply facilities.
So this is part of the Fort Worth water agreement. This is the interlocal agreement that me and Patrick Law, Pat, and Hudson Oaks City Attorney have been working on. We had this, I think, in front of you guys about a month ago. We hammered it out, had multiple revisions, and we finally have a finished product that Hudson Oaks will adopt on Thursday night. And this is, once this ILA interlocal agreement has been executed, we will send that to the city of Fort Worth, where they will take that under consideration as part of executing their agreement with the city of Willow Park and the city of Hudson Oaks.
And when's the expectation Fort Worth will do that?
Preston, you want to?
Right now, we're thinking that'll happen in January.
There was thanks, Preston. There was a condemnation hearing that was to be held on November the 5th. It was pushed back to, I want to say, November 27th, that Tuesday, the 27th. Once the condemnation hearing has been set and finalized, Fort Worth will have access to the property, and it's just a matter of the two attorneys fighting it out. But once they have access to the property, then they will execute the agreement.
That's great news.
And speaking to the ILA agreement specifically, I noticed that like Hudson Oaks will actually have a contract with Fort Worth and we're paying them. Why is that? And we have the equipment. Will you
Sure.
share that breakdown with us?
It's the way it works is we get 50. So the total debt on this project will be financed by the city of Willow Park through the Texas Water Development Board. Water Development Board only allows one applicant per project. So we're going to assume all of the debt, but they are contractually obligated upon passage of paying 48% of that. Fort Worth only wants to bill one party, and that's going to be Hudson Oaks. They've already had that relationship started for a couple of years now, and so they kind of had that agreement in place. We will pay our portion of the monthly usage. They will pay us semi-annually on debt service. We will get 52% of the, I think it's 6.7 MGD, and ours is going to come out to roughly 3.5, 3.6 MGD. Hudson Oaks will get 3.23 MGD. And so we will assume the debt, they're going to assume the monthly payments to forward.
What kind of impact will that debt have on us as a city?
So you're probably getting close to 12 to 13 million total for the project. So our share is going to be roughly 6.7 million.
So the full 13 does not go, doesn't count on us, okay.
Well, the full 13 will be, when you see the audit, and that's part of what the ILA, part of what we're trying to hammer out. When you see the audit, we're going to be on the books for 13 million. We're going to have a debt issuance of 13 million. Hudson Oaks is going to have, we're going to have a revenue from Hudson Oaks for 48% of that. The interest rate with Water Development Board's around 2, I think we're going to factor in about 2.25, depending on what interest rates do by the time we close. And we're going to go on a 20-year note. So it's not going to be as impactful as it was. I was planning on a 10-year note, but I think we're going to go to 20. There is no prepayment penalty. None of those things are involved. We are running some surpluses right now in the water fund, and so I don't anticipate an increase in water rates at this time. I don't want to rule it out, but I'm not anticipating one at all.
Okay. I did notice that the reason I was asking about the breakdown there. You know, we have the equipment, they have we're very much locked in. You know, they can't cut off our water. If they cut off our water, then, you know, they don't pay Fort Worth, and we physically cut the water, we shut the pipeline down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that's how we're all locked in together on that.
Yes.
I do have a question. Do we have the manpower and the know-how to maintain the facility? Because we're going to have a tank, we're going to have, you know, we're assuming the equipment.
We're sharing the maintenance and the maintenance aspect of it with Hudson Oaks.
Okay.
So between their water department and our water department, we'll work cooperatively together. But I have full confidence in Raymond and our public works guys to take care of the issues. And if not, we've got a great city engineer, Derek Turner.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do we have a motion about number 11?
Do what?
I don't know how to operate a backhoe, so.
What? You're fired.
Do we have a motion?
I move that we approve the interlocal agreement with Hudson Oaks to fund, construct, and maintain water supply facilities.
Second.
Any other discussion or questions?
Very good job.
All in favor? Thank you.
Now you can say very good job. Passed.
Item number 12, consider and take action on resolution 2018-10, resolution to adopt a financial investment policy. This is to accept the resolution.
So we had this agenda item on last month. If you remember, we did not actually, you accepted the policy, but you never adopted the resolution. And so this is a cleanup from last month.
Do we have a motion?
I move that we adopt resolution 2018-09. I need to read it? Nope. Okay.
2018.
2018.
Oh, 28-10, excuse me, 2018-10.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion or questions? All in favor? Thank you. Item number 13, consider and take action to adopt ordinance 782-18 to reinstate the juvenile curfew.
Mayor, members of council, this is just to reestablish the juvenile curfew within the city of Willow Park. Per state law, juvenile curfew ordinances have a sunset clause and have to be renewed every 3 years. This particular ordinance expired in August, and so we've been without it for a couple of months, and we're asking council to approve it so that we can have that as a tool.
What time is the curfew?
10. Midnight to 6? Okay.
Sorry.
Midnight to 6 a.m.
Thank you.
And it excludes if they're going to and from work or school activities and things of that sort. So they get a pass for those events.
Do we have a motion?
We renew this annually?
Every 3 years.
Every 3 years, okay.
Please read the caption. Will somebody read the caption, please?
I'll get there.
I don't have it.
I have it. You got it, Gary?
Go ahead.
All right. I move that we adopt Texas Ordinance 782-18, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Willow Park, Texas, reestablishing a juvenile curfew to be codified at City of Willow Park Code of Ordinances, Chapter 8, Article 8.02, minors, Division 2, curfew, establishing a penalty for violating the ordinance, establishing a review process, providing a repeal clause, providing a severability clause, providing an open meetings clause, providing for an effective date.
Do we have a motion?
I motion. I second.
Who made the motion?
I did. Amy.
Amy, second. Any other questions? All in favor? Thank you. Any other items that we missed, Mr. Brown?
I believe y'all may have item 14. Chief, are we, okay, we can take that one off. Okay. We had an item that we were on the agenda. Yep.
Mayor's comments. Mr. Contreras, welcome. We thank you as an asset to our council. Thank you for serving. City manager's comments. You've got 60 seconds.
We are closed on Thanksgiving and the day after Thanksgiving. We are having a staff pot lunch on is up 150% year over year, which is good news. We will be going to ISCA in Fort Worth from January 11th, or 9th through the 11th. We are looking to maybe come to you guys to hire an additional position for PIO, and I'll get into those details later. And finally, I believe the mayor is going to send you an evaluation form.
It's getting late.
Best law and order. You will get a review form for the city manager's evaluation. I believe we're going to send that out to y'all tomorrow. We're trying to keep the December agenda light for a number of reasons, but I think we're going to review the city manager's performance for the last 12 months.
I'm available for lunch later.
Don't get off that cheap.
I'm available if she drinks.
We have a motion to adjourn. Second. This motion is adjourned.
We vote. You got to vote. I need a vote.
All in favor?
All in favor.
If you voted